think none of us here in this room is native speaker of that language. So what I try to do is I try to share with you my own research and also something that we have learned from other people's literature. But mostly, since I intend to make it an introduction, I will try to cover a wide span of areas, including their music and also their outfit, because I think these are two parts that's very important in their culture. So let's start with the introduction by sharing with you their music. Okay? So first, I want to share with you this called 8-part polyphony. 8-part polyphony means you have meaning that this belongs to one particular tribe in Taiwan Formosan people. This tribe is called the Bunun tribe. Okay, and they have this choral singing. That is a song without words, only the music. And you would have 8 men that will form a tight circle. But I was told, and also from the video clips that we have seen, it's not necessarily a person. Each one adding a song based on nature, such as the buzzing of insects or the sound of leaves blowing in the wind to create a unique harmony. And this tradition is one of the oldest and the most primal kinds of musical expression still existing on Earth. So I'll let you have a taste of this kind of music. Okay, for those of you who sing or who have seen in the chorus, you must know there are, how many parts are there in the chorus? Normally. You have soprano, you have what? Bass, you have tenor and alto. So 4 parts, right? But this is an 8-part polyphony. So how did you make the 8-part? How is the 8-part created? 8, 2 times the 4 parts, right? So actually it's 4 parts, but except the other 4 will be seen like what? 8 notes higher. 8 notes higher. So you have altogether 8 different parts to make the harmony. And this has been existed in the Bunun tribes for a long time, but nobody really paid attention to it until I think some 20, 30 years ago. Japanese scholars or Japanese musicians discovered that they have this kind of harmony, and they try to promote. And now it has become world famous. A lot of them were invited to give a show, not just in Taiwan, but also in France, in different parts of the world, or in Japan. Okay, so this is something very typical of the Aboriginal people here in Taiwan. A lot of famous singers that popular song singer on TV, they are actually Aboriginal people. So I don't know how much you are into the Chinese, into the Taiwan popular song, but just to name a few, maybe Joe can help me. Ame, right? She's the most famous one. And probably we will find some clip, not today, to show you how these singers can sing, okay? So that was the first song without words, just a song mimicking the nature. And it's, as you can see, it was performed in a very solemn, like ceremony type of setting, which was indeed the case. You know, not any person can be chosen to sing in that circle. Okay, they have very strict restriction because they need to pick the best person, not just for the voice, but also for the ethical standard and for their conduct. And now I'm going to share with you another song by the Amis tribe. Amis is the tribe, the main tribes in Taidong, the eastern part of Taiwan. Okay, so this is also a very famous ballad. Okay, hear that? Very beautiful song, and usually they have very simple accompaniment. You know, they don't need a lot of musical instruments behind, but mainly these people supposedly most of the very famous Formosan singers, they were grown up in the mountainside. And I was told that they could exercise every morning, so they have a good lung for voices. So their voices could really be carried away along. And I have heard this song many, many times because many of my relatives live in the eastern part of Taiwan. So every time we went there, we would go visit some of these native people, the Amis tribes, and some of them are good fishermen. So we were able to eat very delicious lobsters because they would bring the lobsters to us, and also fresh fish. So I have good memory, and I like this song very much. And the next song I want to share with you is a theme song in the 1996 Olympic. It's called the Elders Drinking Song, and listen to it and see if you like it. Okay, so we'll stop here, and you can get a taste or a flavor of the song. And this is the elders drinking song, and the drinking is not limited to men. So this song is actually sung by this old man and his wife. So you can see some women's vocals behind. And this is Guo Yinnan, a very famous singer. And I don't know if you have noticed some of the wording when the film first appeared. This is Song from Heaven. And this is a national treasure of Taiwan. So they consider their music talent or their singing talent as kind of national treasure. And lastly, even though I have several songs here, I just want to show you another one, which is the movie that we have once mentioned. This is the movie, I think the first part was already out, right? It's called 赛德克巴莱, Sadik Ballet. Both parts are out, okay, and this has become a very famous hit movie. So I just want to show you the promo of this movie. From the movie, you get the historical background because you see the Japanese people, and when Taiwan was under the occupation of the Japanese government, they have done a lot of things, many things, to control the people on this island, not just to the Formosan people, but also for the Chinese people, Taiwanese people as well. The language, for one, is a major part. And in the movie, if you read the Chinese character, you will see a lot of this word, 番人. 番人. What is 番? Barbarian. So that means for the Han people, they are very self-centered. So that's why Chinese is called 中国, right? We're the center of the world, 中. And if you are not the Han people, you are not human being, you are the barbarian people. And so anything from abroad, not from China, is fun. So any other things that you can think of for fun? What is fan qie? Tomato. Yeah, it's something from foreign land. Okay, so anytime you see this one, it's non-Han, not from China or not from Taiwan. So they were originally called the barbarian people. And you probably also see this Shen Fan. Shen means what? Raw. Okay, as opposed to so. This is like well done, cooked. This is raw, okay, literally. So Shen Fan means those people, usually we refer to them, they are not converted. They are in the high mountains. They do not conform yet to the system or the regulation that we want to put on them. And then we have, opposed to Shen Fan, we have So Fan. But now we no longer use those terms because those terms are prejudiced. So now you don't call them Shen Fan or So Fan or Fan Ren. No longer. What's the politically correct term to call them? 原住民 right? Okay. 原住民 And what's 原住民? What does it mean literally? Yes. Min is people, right? This is to live. This is original. These are people who originally lived on this land, on this island. So they are now our Formosan people. Okay? So you can see from the name or the term that we use to refer to these people, you can see the change of the policy of our government, right? Okay, we have changed from something very inappropriate, politically incorrect, to something that is politically correct now. Okay, so you can see their status is different now. Okay, so let me just to share with you a little bit about the story of that movie. So it was about after 1895, the famous Opium War. After the war, we have signed a treaty called, how is it called? Shimonoseki Treaty that settled the island of Taiwan, that is Formosa. This is a name given by the Portuguese people to Taiwan. Formosa means what? Beautiful island. Beautiful island, right? Okay, and that's why these people, we call them Formosans. There was immediate tension between the islanders and their new colonial masters, namely the Japanese people. In spite of the many small rebellions, the brutal suppression of the Taiwanese revolt in 1916 brought an uneasy peace. Okay, so if you have a chance to go to Wuse, that's where the event occurred. That's in the very central part of Taiwan, in the province called Nantou. Okay, Wuse. You go there, you could see some of the statues that they have set up in memory of the heroes in the war or the battle. And the Aboriginal tribes of Taiwan were then deprived of their land and their weapons, along with their tradition of headhunting and face tattooing. Okay, these are two of their traditions too: headhunting and face tattooing. Probably we'll see some later on. The tattooing was an integral part of the tribal culture, not in every single tribe of the 9 major tribes in Taiwan Formosan people, but only especially for this Sedik or Atayalik tribes. The Sedik tribes, in the Sedik tribes, when a young man was given his face tattooing, it signified that he had passed from boyhood to manhood and become a hero of the tribe, a Sedik Balai. So that's the name why the movie is called Saideke Balai. It's actually a transliteration of the Sedik language. I think Balai means a hero, and Sedik is the name of the tribe. But for all these Formosan tribes, with very few exceptions, usually the word to refer to their tribe means people in that language. So Sedik means people in the Sedik language. Okay? So this is something that you might want to remember. So Sedik Balai. Okay, so now we go into something I probably am more familiar with. So let's give an introduction to the Formosan language. Okay? So Formosan languages refer to languages of the indigenous people of Taiwan, and the Taiwanese Aborigine, it only constitutes about 2% of the island population. Only 2%. How many people do we have in Taiwan? 23 million. Okay, 23 million. 2%. How many are there? Okay, people who are good at mathematics, you can help us. Okay, so we have around 23 million.
So we about 4 million.
No.
What?
No.
Wait, 20. Oh.
Okay, less than that. That's that. Only 1/10 of what you just said. Okay, so very few. And it's not even evenly distributed. So different tribes have different amount of people. And some of them have very few speakers left. Okay, far fewer than the 2% can speak their ancestor languages after centuries of language shift. Okay, so because of the language policy and because of the change of the linguistic situation, only very few out of the 2% can speak their own native language. And of the approximately 26 languages of Taiwanese aborigines, at least 10 are extinct. Another 4, perhaps 5, are moribund. And several others are to some degree endangered. So you see, I say 9 tribes because originally, according to the linguistic features, there are 9 main tribes of the Aboriginal people. But out of these 9 main tribes, now officially in Taiwan, if you go to the website of the Ministry of Education, it says we have 14 Formosan languages officially acknowledged. Okay, how do we come about 26? It's different from 14 and 9. Why is that? And if you take, I mean, you won't take it, but we now have an exam for those Aboriginal people to take to certify their knowledge in their native language. And in that exam, we give 42, if I'm not mistaken, at least 42 versions, 42 languages. We have exams of 42 different languages for the Formosan people to be certified as someone who knows the language. Why so many? Take a wild guess.
Because the dialectal differences within each language.
Exactly, because within a major group there are dialects, and each of the small dialects, no matter how small they are, they want to claim their independence. So they kept on arguing, saying that they should be acknowledged, and they want to have an exam in the language or in the dialect they are familiar with. So now it's come up to 42. So it's like spreading. But I would still maintain the 9 tribe distinction, because if you go to Nantou, if you go to a amusement park there, it's called 九族文化村. It's called 9 tribe. 9 tribe cultural village, because they are the main tribes that exist in Taiwan. Okay, so now let's look a little bit. Let's take a look at these terms. What is language shift? What does it mean by extinction, or what does it mean by different terms? So first, what is language shift? Sometimes it's also called language transfer or language replacement, which refers to a process whereby a speech community of a language shifts to speaking another language, and most often across generation within a linguistic community. So it won't just happen in one generation, because the language change takes a long time, and this is something that we will emphasize again later on. The process whereby a community of speakers of one language become bilingual in another language and gradually shift to the second language is called assimilation. That means you have totally, completely been converted to another language, and it's called assimilation. When a linguistic community ceases to use their original language, then language death is said to occur. So you would have no native speaker of your original language, because all shifted to another language or assimilated to another language. Assimilation occurs very often in languages, not just in the situation like this, but also in your pronunciation. You have a lot of assimilation going on when you speak. For example, just to give very simple example. Okay, if you look at these 2 words, impossible and intolerate, these are the negative markers, right? To make something not possible, to make something that you are not willing to tolerate. But these native markers, how come they will be written differently? For a very simple reason, because assimilation process happen? You are changing this sound to something that's similar to the place articulation to the following sound and make it easier to pronounce. So actually, if you look at this negative prefix, they belong to one single prefix, but they just surface in different form. Okay? So this is another kind of assimilation, making something becoming more similar. Okay? So this is also what you can see in assimilation. And what makes a language extinct? A language that no longer has any speaker or that is no longer in current use. Unfortunately, that is close to a lot of situation in some of these tribes. And extinct languages are sometimes contrasted with dead languages, which are still known and used in special contexts in written form, but not as ordinary spoken languages for everyday communication. So in the Indo-European languages, what could be a dead language, but it's not extinct? The Latin. Yes, very good. Okay. The Latin. Okay, so and language extinction and language death are often equated by, if you don't have such a strict definition. So what is a language that's moribund? It's a language that is a language would be safe if children will probably be speaking them in 100 years. Endanger if children will probably not be speaking them in 100 years. Okay, so you think 100 years is a long time, but that's just peanut comparing to how the process or the time, the length, language change is going to take place. Okay, so they use 100 years, as a landmark, a benchmark to see if that would happen. So if children are not speaking the languages anymore, then the language is called moribund. And 15 to 30%, about 900 to 1800 kinds of languages are estimated to become moribund, according to a speaker. Okay, so even though we say we have 6,000 languages now, but a lot of them are on the road to become extinct. And one is a language in danger, a language that is at risk of falling out of use. So now, most likely, we would like to call Formosan languages in danger. We don't want to use any other situation. We hope they are just in danger and you are still in time to save them or to rescue them. If it loses all its native speaker, it becomes a dead language that we have talked about. If eventually no one speaks the language at all, it becomes an extinct language. Okay, so these are the situations that Formosan languages are facing. So what is so significant about the Formosan languages? For the reason that you may know, Taiwan may be the place of origin of the entire Austronesian language family. Okay, why? And we should give you more evidence to show that. Formosan languages, from 9 out of 10 principal branches of the Austronesian language family, we talk about language family, right? Like Latin as a language family, it has many daughter languages. You have Spanish, you have French, Portuguese, Italian, etc. And so Formosan as a language family, it has 10 daughter languages, and 9 are here in Taiwan, while the one remaining principal branch contains nearly 1,200 Malayo-Polynesian languages found outside of Taiwan. So out of this, you see the number. 9 main branches are here in Taiwan, and out of these 9 branches, we have 26 languages. So you minus 26 from this 1,200, how many do you have? You have 1174 outside of Taiwan, and they are called Malayo-Polynesian. So this has been a consensus that has been reached by many linguists and many scholars who have devoted themselves to the study of the Austronesian languages. So Austronesian languages originated in Taiwan And this is a theory strengthened by recent studies in human population genetics as well. So we don't just find evidences in language, we also find evidences in genetic studies, in archaeological studies, and also other convergent evidences we are gathering to prove the point. And for the genetic population genetics, this was quite popular 10 years ago in Taiwan. I don't mean popular, I mean it was a lot of research have been done in this regard. We have I think she's a doctor working in Mackay Hospital by the name of Lin Ma Li, and she has come up with this idea of taking the blood from these Formosan people, and they try to compare their DNAs, etc., with people outside of Taiwan. And it has been done, and some result has really been gathered, some promising result. But recently, because of the what is it called? Research Ethics Committee, or the IRB, the Investigation Review Board, they have a strict restriction and they have a strict regulation on whatever studies you want to make. You have to get informed consent of your subject. So the subject would have to sign in order to agree to the kind of studies you want to make. And a lot of these people, Formosan people, they withdrew from the study, and they claim that they cannot be taken, their blood cannot be taken away because at one point some very different kind of theory has been, a different kind of reason has been given. Some people say their soul might be taken away by if their blood are taken away. Anyway, and there are other people who came out, other Formosan people came out to protect their people. They said, you know, you cannot just take our blood away. So this kind of study has been discouraged recently. It's very difficult to do this kind of genetic study, and which was, from my point of view, which was really a shame, a pity. And so the current situation is that all Formosan languages are slowly being replaced by the culturally dominant standard Chinese. Okay, so a lot of people, they communicate in either Taiwanese Southern or even in Mandarin, and they no longer speak their own native tongue. If you have come across, or if you have read, or from the movie, you must know that a lot of these Aboriginal people, they are fluent speakers of Japanese, the older generation. Okay, older, I mean if they are over 60 years old, usually they speak Japanese very well. And in fact, when we did the field work, sometimes it was harder because we have to look for more competent speakers to be our informants, right? And usually they are older people, older informants. And to communicate with them, sometimes Japanese works better than Mandarin or Taiwanese Southern because they are fluent speaker of Japanese. And even in their vocabulary, they have a lot of long words from the Japanese language. And the Republic of China government started recently an Aboriginal reappreciation program that included the reintroduction of Formosan first language in Taiwanese school. So it's not only the Formosan languages in school, but also we are trying to reappreciate many of our languages, including Taiwanese Southern and Hakka, if they are your native language. So we now have like 1 or 2 hours of, what is that called? Teaching of your mother tongue. That's really 母语教学, yeah. Huh? I'm sorry? 乡土教学. Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. 乡土教学. 乡土. What's the meaning of 乡土? Local or country, or something that's belonging to your land, and they have 1 or 2 hours of that in school, trying to teach the student what they are supposed to speak at home. Isn't this ironical? If that's mother tongue, you're supposed to be taught and you're supposed to be using it at home. That's why it's called mother tongue. You don't learn your mother tongue by being taught 1 or 2 hours a week. That's not going to be efficient. Okay, and the result of this initiative have been disappointing though, so which is not surprising at all. And Taiwan Formosan languages, out of those that are still living, are these tribes, and I'll show you the map. So we try, and I have asked Chester if we could enlarge this, but unfortunately it's difficult to enlarge it. So this Sadiq is over here. In fact, like Hualien area, okay, or even Nantou area, you find Sadiq. Atayalik, if you go to Wulai, you will find a lot of Atayalik people, Wulai, the northern part of Taiwan. And here is Amis. Okay, that's the first song that I enjoy very much. I say in the eastern part of Taiwan, and this, I think Amis is the major tribe. They have the most population, even though, you know, the area is not that big. Bunun, the first one with a A-part harmony. This is the Bunun here. Taiwan is another Formosan tribes in the eastern part of Taiwan, in Taitung mainly. And this was the first field work that I have done. We went to the, not Taiwan, I'm sorry. Okay, I was talking about another thing. Okay, Taiwan. I was talking about Puyuma. That was the first field work that I did on these Formosan languages. And Lukai, okay, that's another major tribes. I did not mention a lot of them because they are not the so-called Gao Sanzu, or they are not the highland, the Aboriginal people in the mountainside. So what I have just mentioned are called the Gao Sanzu. So, for those that are living, but there are a lot of have already been extinct. So these are the names that you probably are not that familiar with. These are called the Plain people, the Plain tribe, Pimpuzu. You have Babusa, Basai, okay, etc. Pazay, and we probably will mention some of them. Siraya. Let's look at the map again. Okay, so Pazay is over here. Babusa and Silaya. Okay, that Huanya over here, and Katigalan. Okay, you can match the name and the place when you go home. If you look at the PowerPoint, you can take a look at where they are distributed. Okay, I forgot to mention one of the main Gaosanzu on the highland, the mountain, which is Dao. That's in Sun Moon Lake, Ziyuetan, okay, over here. But we, unfortunately, I think the last competent native speaker just passed away. Okay, and about 10 years ago, or even more than 10 years ago, I still heard stories from a very distinguished Formosan scholar by the name of Paul Lee, whose article we are going to read next week. He told me that he was very frustrated when he went to Ziyuetan, Salmon Lake, to do the field work on these Dao people, because he said he couldn't, he himself, Professor Lee himself, is a phonetician. So he pays a lot of attention to the pronunciation. He was frustrated because he said this informant he has been working with for a long time is now in the late 80s, and it was just impossible for him to pronounce the correct sound of F. Why? Tell me, Bobby. Yeah, it's what? Labiodental, right? It's the labiodental. It means to pronounce F, you need your upper teeth and your lower lip. But if you don't have upper teeth, then you cannot pronounce the F correctly. So he was very frustrated. But now we have lost that speaker already. So that was 1,000 people. And for so this is the linguist that I mentioned, Paul Lee. He said he has come up with a lot of evidences. So some of the lexical evidences could be used to reconstruct the languages and in order to establish their genetic relationship in terms of language. So in what follows, I'm going to introduce 3 items that is related to Professor Lee's studies on lexical evidence. One is called cognates and genetic relationship, and also the family tree. So let me finish with these 3 terms. What is cognates? Cognates are words that have a common etymological origin. So can you think of a cognates between German and English? Or Latin and English? Or Latin?
Explain what it is again. Can you explain the meaning again?
Okay, words that have a common, they have the same etymology. They comes from the same origin.
But a different meaning?
Same meaning. Same. Huh? Okay, good. Okay, can you say it louder to the class? You pronounce, how do you pronounce? Do you want to write down the word? Okay. Huh? Ask Steven to write it. Okay, Steven, you want to write it? Okay. How about Spanish and French, for example? How do you say father in Spanish? Padre. How do you say father in French? You see, you have cognates there. The pronunciation may be very similar, but not exactly the same. But you have the same root, come from the same origin. Okay? Okay, thank you. So long words from another language are usually not meant by cognates. So if you just have coincidence, 2 words that pronounce the same, even the same sound, they are not cognates because they don't have the same origin. So the English word kin is not considered a true cognate of the Dutch koning or the German, how do you pronounce it? Koning. So they are just long words. They just borrow from another language because they don't have the same origin. And cognates within the same language are called doublets. Doublets. Okay, so these 2 are called doublets. So skirt in Old English is pronounced, somebody can help me? Okay. And skirt, which is long from Old Norse, are doublets, because both of which derive from the Proto-Germanic, which is reconstructed as this way. Every time we have reconstructed something based on cognates, if that's a proto-language, then we would use the asterisk mark in front to indicate that it's reconstructed, because we don't have evidence to show that this is the way, because it's reconstructed based on the sound similarity. So genetic relationship is also called a genealogical relationship. It's established through the use of comparative method. So if you compare, for example, the cognates of linguistic analysis between languages that are members of the same language family, language that possess genetic ties with one another. Okay, so if you compare languages that belong to the same language family, and you can use comparative method in order to establish their genetic relationship. 2 languages are genetically related if one is descendant from the other, or if both are descendant from a common ancestor. So if both are descendant from a common ancestor, they are called sister languages. If one is descendant from another language, it's called the daughter language. Unfortunately, we only use the female kinship terms to refer to these languages. Okay? And so Italian, which is descended from Latin, is genetically related to Latin. So Italian is a daughter language of Italian. And Spanish, also descended from Latin, is genetically related to Italian. So Spanish and Italian is called sister language because they belong to the same level. If you have this language tree, so you have Latin here, and you have Spanish, French, Italian, and something else. So French and Italian, or Spanish and Italian, they are called sister languages. And this is called the daughter language of Latin. Okay, so we have a classification of the Formosan languages. The Formosan language in Taiwan, all these are in Taiwan. According to Professor Lee, Paul Lee, the person that I just mentioned, he has divided the Formosan languages into the northern branch, the central branch, the southern branch, and the eastern branch. And he has come up with all this kind of language tree, a family tree, just like your grandparents, your great-grandparents. This is called the family tree. And you can see all the language are distributed according to the lexical evidences he has found in the language. Okay, so let's take a break here, and when we come back, I'll show you some of the outfit belonging to these tribes. Okay, so let's take a look at their outfit, okay, because I think it's so colorful. And okay, you see this tattooing on the face?
We're waiting for the projector.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, make money.
Okay, you see this? The tattooing on the face. So it's not just to the men, women as well, but fewer people are doing that nowadays. This is the Ataya people, and look at their outfit. Their outfit, they usually would have they would have all these beads to decorate, their clothing. And sometimes it's beads, sometimes it's shells. And their color usually have white as a background or red as the background. So the background is white or red. And the unique part is in their chest and and also the back. They have this design specific to the tribe. So usually by looking at the outfit, you will know which tribe you are dealing with. And this is Saisha. This is not the high mountain tribe. This is a plain tribe. And this is in the Miaoli area, near the Hakka villages that we have been mentioning last time. So in the Saisha language, they have a lot of long words from the Hakka language because of their frequent contact with each other. And the Saisha people, usually, they don't make distinction between the male and the female outfit. The only difference is the female will usually have a specific part. You see all this skirts, this kind of skirts. But for the men, usually they don't. I don't think this one is. I think this is just some people going there to try on their outfit. They are not so original. They are not the native people in the Saisha tribes. And again, they are famous for the bright colors of their clothing. And they would have white, red, and black as the main colors, and usually white in the background, and red for the flowering and also for the weaving. And the black one is just to combine with the red to make decoration. This is the one with the 8-part polyphony. And these Bunun people, they are in near the Kaohsiung area, I mean the southern part of Taiwan. And these Bunun people, usually their clothing is divided between like a festival or just ordinary wear. And they would make changes according to the season. From the appearance, they have very complicated weaving patterns, and also they have, if that's in the festival, they would have more bright color. But this one is pretty, not as colorful as the other tribes. Okay, and they would have this headband over here. Let's look at. This is the Zhou people. The Zhou is in the Alishan mountain in Jiayi, in the Jiayi area. And the Zhou people, I think they are different from the other tribes in that the Zhou people usually have a more pale complexion, and the women from the Zhou groups are usually very beautiful. Okay, so let me try to see if I can find some beautiful representative next week to show you. And they are usually famous pop song singers. They are really very, very beautiful. I guess it doesn't make sense for me to mention the name because you probably don't know. But I'll show you the picture because I think I'm impressed with this tribe. This is the second language family that we did field work on. And these people are very religious and also very hospitable. If you go to their villages, the best coffee I have ever tasted is offered to me by the Zhou people in Alishan Mountain. I don't know it's because of the coffee or because of the hospitality. It was something that's unforgettable. Okay, so the Zhou people, there are a lot of legends related to the Zhou people, like the famous Wu Feng legend. Because of the remember we talked about the headhunter, I mean, the hunting, and also they are known as being very brave, and they would do a lot of activities. So these Zhou people, usually they would have the red color as well. And if that's in the festival time, the woman will wear this kind of head decorations. Next, we go to the Amis. That's the ballads we have just heard from the eastern part of Taiwan. And the Amis people, they don't pay so much attention to their outfit. So they wear all this kind of outfit just because, it's colder. So they just wear it to keep themselves warm. Only in the festival would they, bring out their best outfit, and they would overdo it in the festival. This is the Puyuma people, also in Taitung, in the eastern part of Taiwan. And these people usually just have a black headband and black waist on their waist. They would have something like a, what is that called? Belt, and it's in black as well. And they would have this wreath, very similar to, perhaps you have been to Hawaii, you have seen those, in Hawaii they call the lace, right? Okay, they would have that on their head, made of flowers. And the Taiwan people, this is in Pingtung, also in the southern eastern part of Taiwan, Pingtung, in the very end of Taiwan. This Taiwan people, you see, many black and red, but they have very beautiful embroidery and also weaving skill, and usually they are very proud of it. And this is the Rukai. The Rukai, I think it's the easiest to tell because even the Taiwan, they will have some red element in that, but in the Rukai, you just see completely black. Again, they have the weaving pattern that would show which tribe they are from. Okay, and lastly, the Yami. The Yami is in the Orchid Island. In the Orchid Island, but usually, you see, you can still see some are very primitive form of these people. They are a little bit more distant from the Taiwan tribe, and some of the lexical item or even the language they speak is mutually intelligible to people in the Philippines. You can see from the geographical area, they are in the very southern part of Taiwan, outside of Taiwan, on the Orchid Island. Okay, they are on the way to the Philippines. So their languages are very similar in that sense. And Yami, again, as I have told you, all these terms referring to people in that particular tribe. So this particular item, this lexical item, literal meaning is people. People, okay? So according to Bluss, in the 1977 studies, you see the Taiwanese Aboriginal people, Aboriginal languages could be divided into 3 main tribes. Okay, you have the Atayalic groups, group, and you have many languages under that. You have the Zoic group, mainly only the Zhou language. So Zhou is very distinct from the other 8 Aboriginal languages in Taiwan. And you have the Taiwanese group, okay, which also have several languages underneath. But out of the 4 main branch in Proto-Austronesian, the other Malayo-Polynesian belonging to the 4th branch. So in Taiwan, you have 3 main branch of the Proto-Austronesian languages. The same thing in 1994 when Malcolm Ross reconstructed the branching. He came up with a very similar type. Again, Proto-Austronesian, and those outside of Taiwan is called the Proto-Malayo-Polynesian, and in Taiwan you have 3 main groups. Again, under these 3 main groups you have different branching and different languages underneath.